GM. Take him out of there. Karen, GM, how are you doing today?
GM. Good. I'm very, very excited about today's show.
Why are you so excited?
Because they have a lot of stuff in store for everybody. I mean, if you're new to the GM show, I'm just going to talk about the ABC of the GM show. It's Asia focused, builder friendly, and cool vibes only.
Amazing. When we're streaming live on Twitter Spaces, YouTube, and Twitch right now, GM to all the commenters in the YouTube chat. It's good to see a lot of the familiar faces out there. So before we begin, let's hear a message from our chairman.
What is discussed on the GM show is not investment advice. We may or may not have ownership interests in the projects we are talking about, but this is not investment advice in any way, shape, or form. And this is not Sir David Attenborough.
Thank you, Sir David.
Thank you, Sir David.
Well, what's up? What's up, Casey?
Well, first of all, let's talk a little bit about what kind of news was dropped yesterday in meme land world. Do you read or watch One Piece?
Yes.
you do both of them.
Of course. I read and I watch One Piece.
Awesome. Who's your favorite character?
Of course, it's Luffy.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what exciting news is coming up for One Piece?
Well, I can't say. Let's forget about One Piece.
Let's forget about One Piece. But there is a something coming on Netflix.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, Netflix series, live action. So it'll be very exciting to see.
Amazing. All right, that's cool. We'll let that lie and let that drop out there. But when do we go into this week's big sponsor?
Yeah, we have a real sponsor this week, so let's go.
By HashKey Exchange. HashKey Exchange is a SFC licensed exchange operating with high security and compliance standards. Your assets are protected by bank-level custody solutions. No more OTC trades buying crypto, and just buy crypto with direct bank transfers. Join us to experience the next generation of digital asset investing with HashKey Exchange. Follow Hello HashKey on Twitter to learn more.
Man, that's a real sponsor.
A real sponsor, not a real voice, though.
Yeah, I want to announce the 9gag HashKey Exchange meme this contest. So there's a contest right here, which I'm going to pin right after this. Submit your crypto-related meme in the comments of the post we have pinned on the top of this Twitter Spaces to win some amazing prizes, including iPhone 14 Pro Max and Amazon gift cards. You can also check out the hashtag haha meme this on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And today is the last day of this contest, so do it now. So let me just pin this real quick.
Yeah, pin that up there. I think a lot of people want to enter that contest. I've seen a bunch of these memes already. Some of them are hilarious. Some of them are not hilarious, but the idea of having a meme contest with Meme Land is awesome. Very, very exciting stuff.
Yeah.
While you're doing that, I wanted to quickly follow up on last week's episode. We were talking about Web3 at Comic-Con, the San Diego Comic-Con. and we had a panel of great guests talking about what was happening out there. But meanwhile, in Hong Kong, we had the Anicom show that Karen and I said we'd go to, but ended up we didn't go to. Right? What
We gave
happened?
up. It's just too long of a line. It's just crazy. Oh my god, it's like the most people I've seen in a while.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
it
It's
was like
crazy.
it was a 2 hours long wait line, and under the heat of Hong Kong, all humid and stuff, and
Gross.
we decided not to get it.
I bought a ticket and I gave up. We're like
Yeah,
standing in line, forget it. Okay, let's show. If you're watching this on YouTube, we gotta show it to you because you're not gonna believe how crazy this is. This is summer holiday, of course. This is the 24th annual ACGHK show, Anicom Hong Kong. There you go. That's only part of the line, and that's
there's only
outside.
there's only like maybe 10% of the line. Oh yeah, you see another line there. Yeah,
Insane, right?
thousands of people
Lining
waiting.
up to lining up again.
And usually the first guy that gets the first ticket is the star of the day. Basically, he will get all the media press and he will do a spin jump. And that's the tradition of like the first person that gets in. So great to see him
I
like
wonder
doing the
how long he slept outside to be the second guy in the thing because it's just
yeah,
insane.
this
So,
is
go ahead.
it's crazy. I mean like all these toys and everyone's like lining up to buy toys and they've already put in a deposit already.
It's like it's just like Comic Con, except that it's in Hong Kong and people can buy exclusive merchandise. I was looking at this video. You can see it yourself on channel chk.com. But the idea is that a lot of the stuff that was exclusive at San Diego Comic Con is here on the show floor, ready to be purchased if you're willing to, brave those crazy lines, right? Rather than the crazy lines that are in San Diego. But and of course, there's obviously a bit more of a focus on anime. As you can see here, like there's Gundam models. There's a lot of cosplayers of anime that I've never heard of before. Oh my god, that's giving me anxiety looking at that.
Yeah. It's
Can you
basically
imagine if we got in and then had to line up again? Oh my
yeah.
god,
Inside is all lines too. So it's that packed.
crazy.
We were thinking like how can it be packed because it's a big space, right?
Right.
But it's actually packed.
Yeah. So we're gonna have to try some special credentials to get in next year because it's just too much. And but it's one of the biggest shows in Hong Kong, right? That's over 200,000 people are gonna go there. It's on for like a week, and it's like a summer holiday, so all the kids are out of school. A lot of kids who go to school overseas come back, and so it's a big festival there. But it's just amazing to see like how big this kind of show is in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
I wonder if there was any NFT companies there. What is this? This is why everybody's there.
This is why everybody like all the boys are
All the
lining up.
boys are there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's enough
Hey,
of that.
cool.
Okay. So, I thought that was a nice little follow up on that. But today we're very excited to have Alex Taub from Goblin Town to be here on our show today. And we want to talk a little bit about that. Karen, what do you know about Goblin Town?
Oh, it's like the craziest collection last year. And when it's like free mint, everybody got crazy. And, the whole goblin language and spaces was
Right.
like the talk of the town, basically. The
Right.
goblin
Right.
town. Yeah.
So the collection went live a little bit over a year ago on May 20th, 2022. It seems like a long time ago, but actually it was just last year. There were
Yeah.
10,000, and I think they originated the free. I don't know if they originated free mint. Let's ask Alex, but it seemed like that when everybody was charging, ETH, lots of ETH to buy an NFT, they would give them out for free, which was quite interesting to build that community and see who was in there. Obviously it did. But the funniest thing about it was that they said there was no roadmap, no Discord, and no utility, and
Yeah.
Creative Commons 0. So the whole idea is like every other NFT project, they decided to do the opposite,
None
right?
of
You go to
that.
their website. I remember going to the website and clicking on the Discord button and go, sorry, there's no Discord here.
Yep.
Crazy, right? So just degenning into those kind of things is crazy. So I really want to learn more about how they did that last year. It's quite interesting. Then, of course, the other thing that I found fascinating that everyone's talking about were their Twitter Spaces, right? So they
Yeah.
started doing these Twitter Spaces. Do you ever listen to one of them?
Yeah, it's like all these like noises people were making. And it's almost like zombie noises.
Yeah, right. Well, they're like the goblins, right? They're just like gobbling, making goblin sounds for hours. I think it was like a 3
Yeah.
hour. You tune in, tons of people tuned in to listen to this the kind of thing. And so when I from
6,000 people tuned in.
right, I don't know how people listen for 3 hours, but you turn it on. I remember turning it on, going, "What is going on here?" But as you know, I love comics, I love animation, I love the storytelling element of NFTs and Web three. I was thinking, oh, there was some rumors going on that Beeple was part of it, and then
Mm.
I was sure Mike Judge was involved because Mike Judge is the creator of Beavis and Butthead, and it has that kind of vibe to it. Find out it wasn't, and the team was completely invisible. Nobody knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
But then eventually they came out and took blame or credit for it. But they've been out now. They went out to NFT NYC with a McGoblin burger truck, so they could
That's
go out
great.
and sell those, and with the cups of pee, I think they were selling as well. So they really dive into the whole goblin element. They also opened their own marketplace, right? So I know they removed the royalties on some of these marketplace sites, but they opened their own, so they could track it more. I'd love to learn more about that from Alex. And then recently, of course, we talked about this on that very first episode, was the Big Ink thing that they were giving free mints to the worst NFT traders, and their tagline was "Empty bags, emptier souls." It's
That's
so funny, right?
amazing. Yeah.
All right, so let's bring Alex up onto the stage. GM.
What's going on?
GM, Alex.
How you guys doing?
Great. How
Good.
are you doing?
I'm doing fabulous.
Do you all the stuff I just said, is that like recent memory or distant memory for you?
No, it's like it's a mix. It's been a crazy year, yeah. Feels like, we've been doing this for a long time, but also just feels like we're getting started, you know? It's like one of those where we've been at this. I mean, there's a longer story before Goblin Town. I think Goblin Town we call lightning in a bottle. But yeah, it feels like we're sort of at the beginning of the story.
Well, let's explore that, because I think that's also a good point, because a lot of people know you for Goblin Town, but you're
Yeah.
actually it's a project from Truth Labs, and you've had a couple of them already, got different collection releases. But the Goblin Town, I guess, is the one that was, the lightning in the bottle. Maybe start off just telling us a little bit about your background and how you got into all of this, because you don't look like
Yeah.
you're 12 years old.
I don't. I'm 30. I think I'm 36 now. I think maybe. Yeah. My quick background: born and raised in New York, in Manhattan. Moved to Miami about 3 years ago. I've always been in like the startup tech scene. So straight out of school, I worked at a company called Aviary. It was a photo editing company based in New York. Ended up getting acquired by Adobe. But before that, I left and I joined a company called Dwala. It was a payment startup based in
Mhm.
Iowa. And it was one of the first ways to get money in and out of this crazy new thing called Bitcoin. This was 2012.
Right.
And when my co-founder of a company called Upstream, we joined together to run the API platform. At the time, Bitcoin was like $4 or $5, and we had sort of like a front row seat to see the space sort of explode. So like you'd basically fund your Dwala account and move it to Mount Gox and BitInstant and Bitstamp and Silk Road and all that stuff. So I was there for 2 years, sort of, that was my first sort of taste of the crypto world. Ended up starting a company called SocialRank, social media analytics company. It was really like the best way to look at your followers on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I
Um,
remember that.
until like basically Cambridge Analytica made it really hard, like the whole scandal made it really hard
Yeah.
for anyone to grab any data from the
Yeah.
platforms. Ended up selling it in 2019 and started a company called Upstream. And then we basically built out basically DAO infrastructure. So I was sort of always in the crypto game, even when I was doing social media analytics stuff. We had an Ethereum rig in our office in New York when we didn't have to pay any, like electricity. So we were in a co-working space, so we're just like mining Ethereum, and like we were doing some DeFi stuff, some ICO stuff. We were just like, always like sort of had a pulse on it. And then, but then we basically started building upstream and sort of evolved into this DAO infrastructure company. So we ended up raising a Series A about a year and a half ago, and at the same time, I was like, we were building this DAO stuff, and I was really interested in, I was buying NFTs. I bought apes and punks and things like that pretty early. And I was thinking of starting one. And I have a good friend that I've had for about a decade, named Caesar Kuriyama. And Caesar was the founder of 1 Second Every Day, really popular app. And anyway, we end up thinking of ideas to do. And I sort of jokingly said, we were thinking about the DAO infrastructure we were building at Upstream. I was building at Upstream. And I was like, if the NFT world was if the Illuminati really existed in the NFT world, it would sort of be a DAO. And then we sort of came up with this idea that maybe we launch a collection using the pyramid and the eye, the
Right.
Illuminati sort of symbol.
Right.
And 50% of the mint would go into a DAO, and the community could sort of play around with it and do whatever they want with it. So we ended up launching Illuminati NFT. This was January 2022, and under Truth Labs. The truth of the matter is, the reason why we called it Truth Labs is I happen to own the Twitter handle @Truth. So we're like, we should probably do something with that.
Yeah, nice.
There's really no more details besides that. It's just we owned a good Twitter handle. But we ended up launching it, and so 50% went to the DAO, 50% went to the team to sort of build out this sort of secret society. But we also had this plan around a universe of characters. So there's 3 co-founders, myself, Caesar, and a third, Process Gray. Process Gray is the artist, and it's a bunch of ragtag people that went to college together. Besides me, they all went to school, Pratt, the school in America, and they're just all creative. Some are artists, some are sound engineers, some are animators, and but Gray is sort of our Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, George Lucas guy. I mean, he's a machine. He's an amazing and very fast artist, but also just creative machine. And so he had this world, him and another guy, Bruce, on the team, had this little world that they were already thinking about and building characters for. And basically we have this collection called the 187, and you can go to the 187.xyz. And it's very much the 187 core characters in our universe. And those were the first 2 things that happened, right? And we launched those in sort of January 2022. And then we started to sort of build it out, and we weren't the most popular collection, but we had a really strong community. And then the market crashed in May, and I might be getting ahead of myself, but this is how Goblin Town started. But that's how we sort of started. And it was just the 187 and the Illuminati, and that was the initial stuff. And I'm happy to answer questions. I'm sort of rambling right now, so.
No, I mean, that's a great story. I mean, how does that transition to the Goblin Town?
Yeah, so we're working on the 187 and these characters. And by the way, just FYI, I think only what's 30 over 187? Only 30 less than 30% of the collection has actually been revealed. If you actually look at the collection, the 187, only 30 to 40 characters have actually been revealed so far. We typically go through spurts of revealing one a week. Right now we're on a little break, but we're going to come back soon. And these have been around for a year and a half. So imagine a collection that hasn't shown the art for 80% of the collection, in a year and a half. But the ones that have revealed are amazing. So people are really excited about them. But so we started to build these characters, right? And they're really rich. If you're on the 187.xyz, you can click on the characters. They look like magic cards, right? There's a background. Yeah. They have a little story around it. It's really rich. And so we're building on these characters, and then the market crashes in May, Luna, Celsius, all that stuff happens like the first week of May.
Yeah.
And ETH goes from like 3,000 to 2,000 to like 1,000. Well, sorry, like 4,500 to 3,000 to do that.
Yeah.
But very quickly. And, I had been, just internally, we're all a fan of like IP, like fantasy IP, right? So everything from Tolkien to, the Marvel universe to, Star Wars is a really big inspiration to a lot of stuff we're doing. And so, the crypto world adopted, the concept of down to Goblin Town. It's like in The Hobbit, there's when there's the song down to Goblin Town. In the crypto, anytime sort of people lose money, they go to Goblin Town. Actually, my daughter, who's 7, also reminded me that in the Wizard of Oz, Ding Dong the Witch is Dead, there's a line about goblins down, like below we like down where the goblins go, below.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's a thing in culture for like 100 years.
Yeah.
And so I go to Caesar and Gray, and I basically say, like, someone would really do a great job right now if they had like a collection of goblin PFPs. Actually, the initial idea was, imagine like a sea of goblins in a Twitter space. Even though I am personally not the person that came up with the Twitter space idea of what we did, that was all C or Sydney on the team. But the concept of like just having a sea of goblins, I thought was just like, when the market crashes, you switch to your goblin PFP, right? From your CryptoPunk or your ape to your goblin. So I sort of pitched the idea, and Gray's like, yeah, I think he had like 103-degree fever also. By the way, we went from ideation to launch in about 8 days.
Wow.
Yeah, and so we don't really talk about that much, but it was we're all like startup people, right? So it's like hack it. Like I think even Gray wrote in the chat, like, I could just go at this like a hackathon, right? And he's very fast. He really understands how to put collections together. But basically, we had a full 10K collection in like a few days, started to loop in the team. But the idea was, okay, this could be like the collection that identifies as like the crash collection, right? So we end up just like shooting the back and forth on it. I don't know if I was allowed to curse here. I was going to say shooting the shit, but yeah, I don't know. You have a sponsor. I don't know. I don't want to get you in trouble. No. But no. So we end up shooting the shit on it, and like we end up like coming up with these amazing ideas of different traits. Like everyone was making fun of Novogratz on the Luna tattoo, and then everyone McDonald's of like, hey, I have to go get my job at McDonald's. So we came up with this idea of McGoblin Burger, which was a place in Goblin Town. And so we start to create this world, and we start to realize, like, even before we launched it, that, hey, this could be a character in the 187. A goblin could be a character, and then Goblin Town could just be a place in our universe, right? So we start working on it, and we realized pretty quickly we have something really special. And anyway, we end up making a few key decisions. The first was around making it free. And the idea at the time was, it's free, so there's like, we can do sort of whatever we want. There's no sort of expectations. Little did we know that everyone in this space has expectations no matter what you do. But the idea was, hey, we're not going to charge for it, so we could like do all the like anti everything. We don't need to do Discord. We don't need to do this. We don't need to do that. Like, we can basically make it free, and it's like we can just make the project we want to make and just like make it enjoyable for us. Whatever it is we want to do, we can do without any sort of expectations. And that was, I guess, right and wrong at the same time. And then the other piece was like, when we said like, okay, we're going to make any money we make, we're going to make on secondaries. And that was just like, hey, like, we're going to earn this thing, right? If it does well, we'll do well. And if it doesn't do well, we're going to get nothing. And obviously that was a really great bet, and it worked out really nicely, but it wasn't super obvious at the time, right? That this was going to be like, no one knew. We thought we had something cool, but like, there's cool, and then there's like taking over the space for 45 days, and that's all everyone could talk about. Yeah, right. So we end up making that. The other thing is we ended up making it anonymous, we always were gonna dox, and we doxed ourselves, right? We released no one was like, oh, you have to dox yourself, and no one knew who we were. And that's the reason why, there really were no insiders, because it did not leak who we were for the entire time. There's one person who knew who we were, and I'll explain how that happened in a second. But we controlled that narrative, and we wanted people to focus on what, like, the performance art that we were creating, the story we were telling, because there's a lot of things we did that most people didn't do before. For example, one of those things was like updating metadata, right? We had 5 NFTs in the collection called the Mysterious Eggs. Yeah, you just showed it right there. The Mysterious Eggs, and that was drawn before we even launched, right? And it's funny, that guy, his name's Big Mister, and he's the CEO of the conglomerate in Goblin Town. He's basically Darth Vader, right? And he's the CEO of Big Ink, which is the sequel collection. But this story was metadata updating every 5 days. And at the time, people don't remember this because, people like Jack Butcher update metadata all the time right now.
Right.
But updating metadata was the biggest no-no at the time,
Right.
right? Like, that was like, you cannot have, and we're like, we're going to just tell a story in the metadata, which I thought was just really cool, unique, sort of no one had done it before. So we made the decision we wanted people to focus on the story, the characters, the art, and not the team. And which is funny because that's everyone speculated, and the space is obviously hype and speculation. Everyone speculated, oh, who's the team? Is it Yuga? Is it people? Is it whatever? And actually, we tried to quell a lot of that stuff. The ones we joked about, people like, oh yeah, we're definitely Shaq, or we're definitely, I think we said we're definitely, there's a whole list of people. We're definitely Steve-O. We're definitely this. We're definitely Mike Judge. That was one of them. We have a whole list of it. And we basically made believe we were like, oh yeah, we're definitely this person and that. But the only people we said we definitely weren't, we said we are not Yuga. We literally said not Yuga with Yooga. But nobody listens. And then the founders of Yuga also didn't help by they were joking about it, because everyone was joking about it. They were having fun.
Yeah.
But so that was one of the decisions we made. Then the other thing that we did was, we were really afraid that people would not mint the collection because it was free. And at the time, wallet drainers were getting popularized, specifically around people were airdropping NFTs to people's wallets and trying to get people to interact with the contract. Yeah. So we're like, okay, this might be the best thing ever, but if nobody says, hey, I actually know who's behind this, and it's legit and it's okay, and you're not going to get wallet drained, nobody's going to mint the thing. So what we did is we try to find one person that we could sort of put it all on. And that person was Mike Dudas, founder of LinksDAO and VC and a bunch of other stuff, founder of The Block back in the day. And Mike's an old friend, and I basically called him and I said, hey, we put this little collection together that sort of commemorates the crash. It's going to be free, but we're afraid people are not going to mint it. Can you be the first person just to tweet about it? And just if people ask, can you be the first to mint it and then tweet about it? And if anyone asks, it's like, hey, I know who's behind it. They want it to sort of be out there and focus on the thing. So he ends up tweeting about it. He ends up buying it and then literally selling it for 0.1, just because he's like, I don't want people to think I'm doing anything. So literally made no money. But bless Mike. And Mike was perfect because he was in the perfect matrix. He was a VC. He had been in the startup game. He NFTs, collection, DeFi, crypto, and journalist. So he sort of hit everything. And he ended up and we ended up doing it the Friday night of VCon. That was the other thing. The other strategy thing was hey, everyone's going to be in person together at VCon. Let's give them something to talk about. So so it launched that Friday night, 7-8 p.m. And it took about 45 minutes to mint out. And the other thing was only one per wallet. So I believe in the first 20, 48 hours, there was more turnover for the NFTs than any other collection out there. I think there was one day, I think 9,000 were bought and sold. And it's 10,000 collections. So it's and 1,000 were put aside for the Illuminati community that was
Right.
released over a
Right.
year. But so those were some of the key early decisions on this stuff that we made.
Wow.
Wow,
So do
that's
you regret like staying undoxed? Just
You
so you're
know,
thinking about people.
yes and no. We have bigger plans for Goblin Town and what we're doing. So it's not, there's definitely, that's like a funny little like the visual, if anyone can see, that's an old Disney visual. So Walt Disney couldn't fully explain how Disney really worked with words, so he just drew this
he
and
made it the
made
original roadmap.
this is the original roadmap. So this is like, it's sort of a joke, but it's also sort of serious. Like there's a lot of stuff we want to do that takes the IP that we're creating and ties it back. But in terms of the docs question, it's so funny. A lot of people a lot of people have said you definitely should have stayed, anonymous. I think it runs its course after a while. Judas was definitely telling me, he's like, hey, if you don't want to reveal who you are, like, don't do it. We had plans for NFT NYC that we wanted to do. I mean, I think you see with like even Nakamigos now, like they never like went public with who they are, and like eventually that wears off, right? So I don't know. Some days yes, some days no. But generally it's fine. Definitely like deal with like, I mean, this is crypto, so like it's comes with but I definitely deal with more abuse because of it, probably, like and like just harassment in general. But
Yeah.
we saw, I mean, we were anonymous and everyone was talking about it and we knew we were it and we were having fun. Like our
Yeah.
internal chat was just like, felt
Yeah.
like a South Park or Rick and Morty like
Right.
writer's room, right? So
Right.
just like, we saw like friends be like, this is the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life. We saw
Yeah.
people like, this is so funny, I love this.
Yeah.
So I don't know, we sort of got numb to any of like the criticism.
Yeah.
Because some people love it, some people hate it. But in this space, you just want people to have strong emotions.
Yeah. I
They
agree.
love it, they hate it.
Yeah.
The worst thing is they don't care.
Exactly. Did you think you doxed because you're going to NFT NYC and you're going to be seen anyways there? And you had these.
No, honestly, I have
places?
text from the original thing, and we always were gonna dox. Even like day one was
Right.
like we're gonna like we just have to figure out the best way to do it. But like we want this thing to be like a long term loop it into our ecosystem. I mean, the reason why we planned it is because we put 1,000 aside. They weren't for us. We put them aside for the Illuminati community. So we were going to eventually have to tell, hey, like Illuminati community, you're going to get this soon. So it was always day one. Like it wasn't we doxed because of X or Y or Z. It was really just like,
Okay.
this is part of the IP we want to create.
Right.
We have some photos that you sent us that we wanted to show off to people and how the project expands into the real world. I know you're talking about the McGoblin Burger before, so you guys did this food truck that was driving around, and I think there was a guy wearing a goblin mask that was making the burgers. So when people come up, it's like it's not just storytelling; it's like now an immersive experience that's on the streets of New York at the same time. Talk a little bit about this kind of stuff, and then I have a couple other pictures, like the I don't know who this guy is, but this guy's looking like he's having a great time in there.
Yeah. So that McGoblin Burger truck that you're showing is actually before it became the McGoblin Burger truck. That was like, it was much more like broken down and disgusting than that. So, and you mentioned before in terms of going around and selling, it was all free. So like one of the things we really pride ourselves is we wanted to make everything free for Goblin Town. Goblins were free. Being able to make a burger was free. All of our NFT NYC stuff was free. So we were giving free burgers out to people at our parties, but also it was going in like, bombing other parties. So it went to the Moonbirds party, it went to the Border Yacht Club party, it went to a bunch of different, World of Women, and it was giving out burgers for free. It was giving burgers for free to homeless people. I mean, it was a lot of fun, but it was meant to be something that was just enjoyable for everyone who attended. And people say that it was the best burger they've ever had in their life. And don't quote me, but that is what people have told me.
Nice.
And this guy, so we did two things at NFT NYC. We had a big gala at Terminal 5 for Illuminati, where it was sort of like a escape room meets I don't know, it was just crazy. People were there like branding themselves, getting tattoos, which still blows my mind. There's so many Illuminati tattoos and Goblin tattoos out there.
Right.
Bless all of you. But so we did this amazing event at NFT NYC at Terminal 5 that was like meant for the entire community, but was put together by Illuminati NFT and also the DAO that we have. And then after, so that was like 8 to 11, right? Or 7 to 11. And then after, there was an after party. I think it was at midnight, maybe 11, maybe midnight. I think it was midnight. It was in Chelsea. And somehow we were going to tweet out the location like right at midnight. And we sent it to a few friends that just weren't good friends because they shared it on every single group chat. Like some friends were like, "Hey, you're whatever, you're like a partner or something." And anyway, I was in a group chat and I saw the message like the Goblin Town after party is here, this location. I'm like, I wrote in the chat, I'm in this chat. This is not supposed to be live until midnight. Like, what are you doing? Anyway, we ended up getting there, and we had the lieutenant of police, New York NYPD, had to come down. The count that I heard was there was 1,500 people on the street.
Wow.
It seems like excessive. There's
Yeah.
definitely a few hundred, maybe 1,000. There's 300 people inside, and it was wild. It was wild, and we had sort of a three-pronged thing, thing. The first was we had this guy. So we got delayed like an hour because the lieutenant came down and it was a little wild. We had the guy that you were showing, not the person on the screen now, but the guy in the other goblin that he was singing. So he was doing like an in memoriam. So the original idea, and he shot us down, was actually, so Beeple was there and he was going to come on and, well, actually originally we were trying to get, this is a true story. I don't think I've told this before. We were trying to get Sarah McLachlan to come. So, like, I will remember, like, I will remember.
I'm Canadian. I know her. Yes.
Okay. So Sarah, we were trying to get it. She's not available, but we tried to get through her agent. So we had this like montage of like dead projects, like, and it was mostly not like project, but like the derivative projects. Right. And so we had this like in memoriam of like, because the market crashed, right? The market was crashed. ETH was really low. Everyone was in Goblin Town. So it was like an in memoriam of like, basically we wanted Sarah McLachlan to sing I Will Remember You live while all these dead projects play in the back. We couldn't get her. So what we ended up doing was some version of that. I think this guy's either saying that or he's saying something else. And then we were supposed to have a part 2 with and K Money was supposed to do this interview, but it ended up getting bumped, and he actually got very mad at us and we're very sorry. It ended up being funny and creating some funny content around it. But he was actually legitimately mad at us. But it got bumped because we had a special surprise. We had Steve Aoki, who was going to perform, and he doesn't do like a performance for 300 people in a basement. So he was like, I've got to go to my next show soon, so you got to get me on stage by like 2 a.m. or I got to go. And so we had this whole routine where he actually wrote a new song. It was called Piss on the Dance Floor. And he wrote this song, and it was like the Goblin Town anthem. And so and it's a banger, by the way. It's still a banger. Nice. I put that up against any other NFT song. But so he was dressed up as the Grim Reaper.
Okay.
And nobody knew it was him. We didn't tell anyone he was there. And so he was dressed up as the Grim Reaper, and he had like a little sickle, and he came on and nobody knew it was him. He went to the DJ booth and he started playing the song, and it's like this song. And then so he ends up going and the song's playing, and people are like just like vibing to it, but they don't know who this person is. And he's like sort of dancing in front of the DJ booth, and then it hits like the crescendo, and he like flips back the Grim Reaper mask, and everyone's like, holy shit, it's Steve Aoki. And he ends up going performing for the next like 45 minutes, an hour, and it was just incredible. Wow. Like, it was just absolutely wild. and that was our Goblin Town event. And I know that was a bit of a long story, but it was a moment for sure.
It's a great story. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
I have a few more questions before we bring up Ray Chan to come and join us. One of the questions I have is CCO, Creative Commons Zero. You guys went out and did that right away. Because you're building storytelling, you're building IP, now you're kind of giving it away. Was that a good idea? Or is that still a good idea, or would you change that now?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think CC0 makes sense for some things. It doesn't make sense for everything. The way we saw it was like goblins were sort of like minions. And what I mean by that is like Universal or whoever I think Universal owns the rights to the movie. But they're notoriously not. They're very lax on the copyright of minions. They basically see the value of them just being everywhere. They're like, they're minions. They sort of all look the same but different, and they should be everywhere. And so what we saw it was that like using the goblins, and we could have a whole debate on like IP rights and what you really have. And I think there's a whole case right now with Yuga and stuff. Like basically Yuga needs to defend the rights of the people, meaning like there's a reason why Proof and Moonbirds could give you the rights and then take them away. If you have the rights to something and someone can take them away from you, then you don't really have the rights ultimately. So the way we saw it was like making it CC0 would let people like, there's like the don't be evil and then can't be evil, right? Like everyone says like, Google's like, don't be evil. And then there's this concept of like, can't be evil. Like you literally just can't because there's restrictions. If Yuga sold to Facebook tomorrow, right? And Zuck was like, I don't want people to have the rights anymore. These are too valuable. I'm going to own them. He could take away the rights. Like, but if you make something CC0 and you can't actually take it away. Yeah. Now, the downside to that is like, it's open to anyone to be able to use however they want. The way we see it is Goblin Town as a collection, anyone can sort of do anything with them, right? And sort of, it's like sort of allowing people to make, like we're canon, but they could make fan fiction and monetize their fan fiction however they want. We introduce new characters. We have this thing called Goblinaries that do retain the rights. So we have a character called Grendel, who is one we created for a specific game. There's a company called D Labs. They're based in South Korea, and they're making this game called Rumble Racing Kart. And there's a character there that is just for them, and we have the rights. So we're balancing it. If I could do it over, I think the one thing maybe I would change is like I would still make Goblin Town CC0 for the goblins. Maybe the one of ones we probably would have said, okay, let's keep those. To be honest, I've talked to lawyers. They might the one of ones actually might not be CC0. Just the regular ones might. It's still a little debate. We haven't clarified that piece. And when you don't clarify something, meaning if you don't actually explicitly state something, then the rights are to the company, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the one that's like still I think a question mark. I think most people think that they're CC0, so maybe that's just enough to make them. Yeah. But I think those would have been nice to not, because then we could have a little bit more control over them. I think the debate will continue on for a while. I think I've seen people say like, hey, I won't mess with anything that's CC0, and I get that.
Right. Yeah. And then so I think it was earlier this year, right? It wasn't even that long ago with Blur and OpenSea and Magic Eden with all the royalties and stuff. You guys went and opened your own marketplace, which is, I don't know, I think it's one of the first, I don't know, maybe the only one outside of maybe Yuga that's doing it. Obviously, you guys are free mint, so you're going to live and die on the royalties. Now they're gone. So, hey, let's make an authentic site and support support your project, not just Goblin Town, but everything that you guys are doing. Can you talk us a little bit about, was that a good move, bad move? What do you see about royalties in the future? Because free mint was a great way to get people on board into doing this without having to worry about some crazy price war. But yeah, I mean, the marketplace is so interesting.
So it's actually a little bit of a misunderstanding of the timeline.
Okay.
So the marketplace actually came first, a while before even royalties were a thing. And it was actually a hedge to in the scenario where this might happen, that we'd have it ready. So it was live months ago. We worked with this amazing company called Snag Solutions that does this, and they've done it for a few other people. So the timeline's a little different. We did something different when all the royalties went away. We actually upgraded our contract. And so we upgraded. Sorry, we didn't upgrade our contracts. We basically killed the old contracts for four things: Goblin Town, Grumples, Illuminati, and the 187.
Yeah.
And so we did this to basically try to future-proof them as much as we can. We introduced a few new features, as well as the ability to burn sort of everything. And a combination was, if you follow certain directions, you can either block marketplaces now, or if you follow things, you can actually get the royalties. And so the way we sort of thought about it was, it's worth spending, and we basically airdropped it to all of our holders, so they didn't spend a cent to have to do anything. We spent, I think, around 40 to 50K just like doing this. And so the way we thought about it was, introducing a few new things into the contract, and the ability for us to make it so that we can control our destiny in the future if need be, right? Was worth the time and the energy. Some people hated it, some people loved it. We had a whole nice spin on it. We built this whole website that was sort of like an FU to Blur. It's literally fublur.com.
Right.
And everyone talked about it. So that was interesting. And that's, again, like, love it, hate it, you're still talking about it. I think one thing that people haven't really caught on to yet, or at least, we added the ability to burn all of our stuff, all the NFTs. And that's something that's like, a big topic of conversation internally about, like, the collection sizes are really big right now for not just us, but almost everyone out there. It's like, there's too many NFTs and there's not enough demand, and the market's constricting. And, like, what do you do about that? So, even in anyone who even hated it, we have some fun surprises before the end of the year of, like, why it's such a big deal and why it was the right move, I think.
Okay,
ultimately.
great. Awesome. Okay, we'll wait for those announcements. And then lastly, I see on the Goblin Town Twitter feed, you guys are doing events, or the community is organizing events in Bali and Singapore. We're based out in Asia, obviously, so we're excited to see that the community for Goblin Town is so strong. How do you personally see, I guess, Asia in the next few months, next few years? How important are they to your projects?
It's huge. First of all, I will say that the Southeast Asia community of Goblin Town is, I could say, I think confidently, that they're the best community in Goblin Town.
Amazing.
They're the nicest people. They just, like, enjoy themselves, right? Like, and that's, like, the whole thing. It's like, just, it's Goblin Town's like it's like a mindset a little bit. So, we did the NFT NYC event. We did one event at Art Basel. We did this crazy thing. I'm not going to get into it because I know we're running late. We did this crazy thing at an abandoned Macy's. It was pretty wild. I'm not joking. It was crazy. And then so a handful of people in the community wanted to host an event in Singapore. Just some great, there's a guy named Greg, there's a guy named Jay, there's a guy named Mojo, there's a handful of people. And they were going to do this thing. They wanted to call it like Formula One, but Gobmula One.
Yeah.
And so they were, like, organizing it, getting sponsors and stuff. And they just wanted to know if we wanted to come support it. And so out of the 10 people on the team, seven flew out for it. And then on top of that, there's an amazing member of the community. His name is King Kong, or Kong, or King, call him whatever. He owns the King Goblin, and he is, he's a wild guy. I'm sure people have seen him on Twitter. He's the funniest person. I love him. And he happens to be, like, a hospitality mogul in Singapore and Bali. He owns one of the biggest hospitality companies out there. And so he was very involved with the event in Singapore. And then he brought a whole group of people to Bali because he's basically the king of Bali. And they're there. And so everyone's having, like, the time of their lives. I'm sitting here. I got get a few things done for work stuff. But everyone deserves an amazing vacation, and I think yeah, King keeps texting me photos. He's like, "You could have been in this villa," and I'm like, "Damn it!" But yeah, in the end of the day, really, I think a lot of people in Southeast Asia and just Singapore, Bali, etc. They sort of just love goblins, right? Like there have been CEOs of companies in that side of the world that have reached out, literally speaking the emails in goblin speak, which is like the writing letters. And also like Fortune 500 companies reaching out to us in goblin speak, wanting to work together in some capacity. So it's I really like the Southeast Asia group, and I want to do more there.
Great. Hopefully we'll bring you out. We're doing NFT Hong Kong in the fall, so maybe we'll bring you out for that. But for now, let's bring out the well, he's not a goblin, but he is the man himself. Ray Chan. It's a new segment we're calling Founder to Founder.
Hey, Alex, long time.
What's going on? You know, we know each other for like a decade, I think.
Yeah, over a decade. I think I know you since your every day.
Yeah, Aviary, yeah.
You moved to Gowalla, right? And then
yeah,
such a long time. Yeah,
it's been a minute. How you doing?
Good. Yeah. So I have been listening, right, to this show. Right? I think I don't know whether you know, right? We have 3 collections at Memeland, right? We have MVP. Basically, it was inspired by Moonbergs, not Moonbergs, by Proof. And then for potatoes, right, it was actually inspired by Goblin Town. Because as you mentioned, right, in May, in June last year, the market crashed. And then you guys kickstarted the free means meta, right? And then at that time, I was like, shit, this is like so genius, right? Because when you did a free means and then you rely on the royalty, right, as the revenue source, somehow your long-term alignment makes sense with the holder as well, right? And then we thought, okay, at the time, we launch our potatoes, right, so that we can kind of like have the first time experience to see how we can manage or how to run a Web3 community, an NFT community, and that basically kickstarted the whole Memeland. I would say that the bigger community for Memeland. Right? So I always feel like, okay, on one hand, I'm a holder of Goblin Town. On the other hand, I just feel like, okay, you guys kickstarted so many very interesting and creative trends. Yeah. How do you guys think of all those creative stunts? Yeah.
It's really like everyone on the team has like a superpower, and is really just great at executing at their thing, right? Like everyone has their thing, and when everyone comes working hard, we come up with stuff. I mean, we have something before. I'm hoping it's in September, but in the next 60 days, we have something new that I think is a different meta that will create. And it goes to a little bit more of like, alignment of holders and creators. And what I mean by that is, right now, people want to be, or they look at themselves as sort of like investors. They're sort of like holders, but they're not really. They're sort of like this in between, and they don't really have like, for example, if Azuki becomes the most hot anime IP, right, and like they're making amazing shows, it's not 100% clear how it's going to go, and the holders are going to benefit from that. Same with like Doodles is probably the best example. Like Doodles could be the next Pixar, and and I own a Doodle, and I'm not like asking them to do anything. I'm like, I just own it because I like it. But if Doodles could be the next Pixar, and I don't know how that's going to actually, the thing that's going to travel back to me as a holder is just the speculation versus actual monetary value. So we've been thinking about like, how do the holders actually benefit from some of this stuff? But how do we come up with this stuff? I don't know. I mean, it's not really drugs or anything. We just like, we sort of just, we even just starting Truth before Goblin Town, like Illuminati, we just wanted to do things that weren't common because we wanted to try new things. And listen, sometimes it's worked out and sometimes it hasn't. And trust me, all the people who hate me on Twitter and whatever, they tell me all the times the things that don't work out. I hear it all the time. So, when it hits, it really hits. But when, and that's the problem of trying new things and being different, right? It's like sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But when it does really nicely.
Yeah, I think the space is actually very conflicting in a lot of sense, right? I think in the high level area, I think people love the concept of build together, win together, right? We build a community together, right? But I think as a founder, right, for over a decade, right, you and me, right, we understand that it's never a very smooth road, right? When you try to build something awesome, right? There are always ups and downs, and the thing is, when we talk about community, supposedly it's like, okay, we stick together so that we can push through, we can reach the final destination that we want. But I think in the NFT sense, in the Web3 sense, somehow it doesn't really work that way, right? For example, like Goblin Town, I mean, by the way, this section is very, very honest, right? Because that's what I do, that's what I want, right? When we talk to founders, right? I want to understand more about what you think about, okay, Goblin Town floor price was really, really high in that, especially in that market, right? And then right now the floor price comes down. I think the sentiment has changed. And then how does the team, how does the community evolve, right? Going through this kind of like ups and then down and then maybe ups again. How do you manage your team, manage your community?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think about this a lot, right? There's a few things I believe that are true in this space. Like one is 95% of people are here exclusively to make money. And what I mean by that is like all they care about is the floor price and the money that they can abstract, nothing else. And by the way, that's fine, right? Like God bless people, they want to make money. That's awesome. I'd say there's like 5% of people that actually care about the community and care about the art. And those people they still care. They don't want to lose their money, but they care about the other stuff as well. So I think that's something that like is a true statement, and that's something that like a lot of people don't like. I joke around, like if there was an NFT that was literally a bag of poop, right, and it was on fire, and it was a 10 ETH floor, and there was volume, and it was going up, people would be like, "This is the greatest people poop in my like. This is the greatest piece of shit of my life." Like they'd make memes about it, and they'd have fun about it. You know what I mean? And that's just the reality of the situation. So, Gray on the team, he had a really great thought a while back about like communities, right, and how they and why sort of a lot of communities are screwed, and maybe that and the only solution is sort of a reset and to get the holders and the creators on the same side. And this thought is basically like, as a founder or as someone who launches an NFT collection, you have one job when you're starting, and that job is to sell out. Because if you don't sell out, you're dead on arrival. So your only job is to make sure you sell out, whether it's a free mint or you charge, you have to get them all out. That's and well, before that, you have to choose like the right supply, the right price, all that stuff. But you have to like sell out. If you don't sell out, you're dead. The next thing, and I'm assuming that the person here is they have good intentions. And what I mean by that is they are building something, and they're not just going to run away and leave. Any money that they make, they're going to reinvest in the team and the expanding, etc. So I'm assuming just like good intentions. But your second goal after you sell out is to get as much volume as possible, because more volume equals more money, more ability to do things and execute on your vision. So that's on the creator side. On the holder side is like, I'm either paying for the mint or I'm minting this for free, and I want the price to go up. So now the price starts going up, and I either could sell it, right? It hits a top, whatever that top is, and I'm either buying or selling at the top. So if I sell, I'm happy, but now I'm outside the community. I'm not really in the community anymore, unless I have multiples. So, but I'm out. I'm buying the top, and then I'm like, I bought the top. Some people are catching, daggers on the way down or falling knives, and then there's other people who like round trip. They bought early, they didn't sell, now they regret it and they're mad. So what you end up with, and this is almost 99% of communities in Web3 fall into this. There's very few people that are all-time highs right now. But what ends up happening is you are left with a community that's the 5% of people who like are here because they're like vibing, they're having fun, and then everyone else who's sort of just upset at you, right? They're upset at themselves, they're upset at you, they want the price to go up. And we're interesting enough, like we sort of went through that a little bit with Illuminati, and then we went back up when Goblin Town came out. And the way we sort of see it is like big Marvel fan, right? I love Deadpool, I love Spider-Man, I love Wolverine, right? Not the biggest like Captain Marvel fan, not the biggest like She-Hulk fan, not the, so some people like Deadpool with like, young adult humor, and then some people like, Moon Knight, which is like archaeology and this. So we think there's like different communities we're going after with different collections. So the way we're sort of thinking about it is like price goes up, price goes down. I used to sort of put my head in the sand and be like, if we just execute and do good things, like everything will take care of itself. Now, a little bit more experience, I sort of feel like you need to deliberately think about that, think about floor price, think about that thing. There are levers you can pull. You can't really control floor price, right? It's a supply and demand. But like if you have a collection with 20,000 NFTs, right, and there's only 30,000 people in the entire space, then you're going to have a problem because there's always going to be excess supply. So this is like an economics thing more than anything, is like if you have a collection with only 100 NFTs, right, or like 1,000 NFTs, and there's 20,000 people trying to get them, that's good, right? You need the supply demand. So the way I've been thinking about it recently is just like there's ways to solve this after the fact. They're a little bit more problematic than if you came in with the initial idea. But a big theme for us is how can we reset what we're doing and give the value to holders that we like. If we believe that most of the value is going to come to Truth Labs, right, and the characters and the IP and the story we're building, then the holders need to have a piece of that. And if they don't have a piece of that, then there's maybe a trickle down effect that could happen, but most people know trickle down economics doesn't actually work. It's bullshit. So it's like that's how I'm thinking about it right now. We have a bunch of things we're working on. Some of these things just take a little more time because it's like financial instruments and things like that. So it's something I think about a lot, though. It's not like something I like, oh, well, everything's going to work out. No, you make it work out or you don't, it's like, so I think about it a lot.
Yeah. I almost, I feel your pain, right? And I think this is somehow sad and also interesting at the same time, because it's almost like turning any IPO, any stock market, right? Any stocks, right? Kind of like compress them and then compress to like 10,000, 5,000 supply. And then you speed up everything, right? To make it so brutal, because even in the real world, in the stock market, right? People don't talk to each other that much, right? But with Discord, with Twitter, right? It's almost like people are so emotionally invested, right? So sometimes maybe some of the holders, they actually hold comfortably, right? But when they go to Discord, when they go to Twitter, right? They feel like they are like in hell, right? And that kind of like triggers that, okay, I maybe I should question my belief, right, in this project, even though I'm having fun, right? So it's almost like you actually have a big group of people, but you only need a few people who just intentionally just trying to FUD for whatever reason. Sometimes they FUD their own bet for fun. Sometimes they're just trolling, right? Sometimes they have like malicious intention and stuff like that, right? But it's almost like things will turn to shit as long as we have a group of people for big enough for long enough time. I think that part is something that I feel like NFT is great for building community, but we can't just stay at the NFT stage, because it's almost like we care too much somehow, and we focus only on the floor price too much, and basically nothing can be done. as great as Yuga, right? When they launch more NFT collection, somehow it doesn't have enough people to buy in, spend like thousands of dollars to buy NFT, right? So what do you think about that, right? For I know that you are
Yeah.
based in the US, right? And that's why the regulatory and stuff is more strict, is stricter, right? How do you see about the non-fungible token aspect and also the fungible token aspect? How do you think about it
Yeah.
as a founder in this space? Yeah.
Yeah, Yuga specifically is an interesting one because I have two OG apes. I have a mutant. I have a bunch of stuff. I sold my heavy metal stuff, but not because I didn't like it, just because I didn't have any time to play. And if I didn't play, and it's not gonna be worth anything. So Yuga's an interesting one because there's the there's the yacht club, right? There's the I remember I bought my original ape at like 0.3, and the reason I bought it, I had the text with my friend Drew.
Flex, yes, flexing. You are.
Yeah, but no, I specifically was saying I really like this whole club idea. Like, I think NFTs are really interesting as like memberships, right? And so I had a thesis that was probably wrong, and I was like, hey, they did all this stuff in the past year before they raised any money. Imagine what they're doing now that they have all this money. And I think this was like, because I was considering selling after the ApeCoin drop and the land drop and all that stuff. And I think the thesis was wrong because really what they're becoming is a gaming company for the most part, right? And nobody's going to buy high value assets to play a game. They need DAUs, right? They need millions of people in this ecosystem playing.
Yeah.
Now you may get special benefits, right, from holding this stuff, but very hard to provide value to a small group of people and also have a game. Now, not to say that it's like not worth what it is, or it's going to go up or going to go down. I think they'll do more. I'm not like super worried. I have no interest in selling. I've made enough money on it. I mean, there's opportunity cost of not selling, but at the end of the day, I'm like, if it goes to zero, I'm totally fine. But the point being is like, and then so the other piece there, sorry, is that tokens are an interesting beast. I know you guys have some token stuff coming out. I think it's tricky because if you have no use for the token, like off the bat, or like, or the token doesn't have real like utility or value, it's really tough, and actually could start a death spiral for everything. I think that happened a little bit with Cool Cats, right? And now they've like said, okay, milk's gone, and I think they'll actually be fine. But I think when you have a token, it's sort of like, because already your floor price is like a publicly traded company. So now you add another thing that you have to sort of think through and make sure that is not going down. And it's not on any fundamentals or anything. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, oh, this is a 5x of or EBITDA or whatever. It's like, no, it's just however someone feels about it, right? So I don't know. I think going back to the points before, right? Like, I think this whole like, I think NFTs are great. I think NFTs are going to be here forever. They're just a file type, right? It's just like an MP3. Like, the people who hate NFTs, they either just don't understand what they actually are, or they're just not that sharp, because the NFTs are like
Sharp,
everything.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. But like, just like it's like nobody gets mad at like MP3s. They just sit there and listen to music, right? In the same way that like people are just be like, oh, I have a digital pair of shoes, right? And I like to think about it a little bit like, how much time do you spend online, right? Like, why do I have Jordan sneakers, or you want to drive a Lamborghini, right? I can get to a place in a Toyota, right? I can walk around in Crocs, and there's some people in the Goblin Talk community that love Crocs. So they'll probably be very mad at me. But the point being is like, why do you do it? Well, it's like status, it's community, it's a handful of things. And so I think of like, okay, how much time do you spend online? I think I saw a study where we're spending about 10% more time online now than we did 10 years ago. and we're projected to spend another 10 more percent. I think it was like we spent like 30% of our time online. Now it's like 42% of our time online, and like it's projected to be like, I mean, especially with like a Neuralink in the future, like I'll spend all my time online. So it's just the more time you spend online, the more valuable things online become. So like you're not going to say NFT, but you're going to like, hey, I have these digital shoes, and I'm in a community of people who have those digital shoes, or I'm in a community of people who have certain assets, certain cars, live in certain places. And so I think if you believe that the more time you spend online, the more valuable these things become, then that's a really great argument for what NFTs sort of represent. And I think having a digital native token for being online all the time, which is why I also think communities like DAOs make a lot of sense. The more time you spend online, DAOs aren't just communities; they're like digital entities, right? So if I'm going to do things online, it makes a lot more sense to have a DAO than it would be to maybe create an LLC. So I don't know. I think I've been in this space. I've been in crypto in some capacity for 11 years. I've seen every dip. This stuff doesn't really phase me. Everyone thinks every time's the last time, and then it just comes back stronger.
Right.
So I'm sort of just like, all right, now's the time to either accumulate the things I really like, or build the stuff that I want to see. And that's how I sort of see it.
Agree. I think the fundamental hasn't changed, right? I think the market sentiment has changed, but if we zoom out, basically the whole category is still going upwards, right? And when you see that, okay, more companies started to leverage blockchain to use crypto, right? I think the future is bright. It's just that along the way, maybe what you think that would change the world, maybe that couldn't. Right? It's almost like I'm old enough to remember the day before broadband, before internet, not before internet, but before like e-commerce and the very popular internet and stuff like that, right? And I think right now it kind of feels like after the .com bubble, it burst, right? And people feel like, okay, all the internet stuff is just like scam, right? But turns out as long as the teams, right, continue to build, right, you can see that basically they change the world. I'm not saying that, okay, an NFT company can be the next Amazon or next Facebook or whatever, right? But I definitely feel like when you can prove that you can actually own a JPEG, right, you can trade or own any digital asset, right, you can trade them. I think that opens a new dimension of opportunity, right, for people, for the teams, for the builders. Yeah, and I think that is the most exciting part. Yeah, I know that you have to go, right? But any last words, right, to the meme land community, to the GM show community, to the Goblin Town community? Yeah, I know that you guys are you guys minting the Big Ink anytime soon? And what's the latest status on that?
No, so Big Ink's out there. It's like a whole burn process. So just for people that want to understand, so there's Goblin Town, right? We introduced sort of the big bad guy. He's like basically the Darth Vader. His name's Big Mister. We showed him before. He was like the visual of it was like the egg story from the original Goblin Town. It was like basically the villain origin story. And so he's the CEO of Big Ink. Big Ink is basically your classic conglomerate, right? So they make everything, they do everything, and they basically their workers are like cute little animals that were, captured and maybe tortured and maybe brainwashed from the outskirts of Goblin Town. So there's like, I think there's like 60 plus heads. There's an ape, and there's a deer, and there's an owl, and there's basically like every animal, basically every collection you could think of. There's a penguin, there's a seal, there's a frog. And anyway, to make a long story short, there's a whole like interesting burn mechanism where you get an acceptance letter to work at Big Ink. So we gave out to the worst traders. We had this whole thing where you connect your wallet, and it would tell you like how bad of a trader you were based on buying the top, buying shit coins, like all this fun stuff, being the exit liquidity from influencers, just like all this fun stuff. And then the top 1,000 worst traders got to mint it for free. Everyone in Illuminati got to mint it. If it was Goblin and the Grumpy got to mint it for free. Then we sold a small group, a small amount of it after. And so these are the collection is just really different than anything you've ever seen out there. It's very much under the radar, and I think it's people should check it out. It's Big Inc. BIGINC. But also just in general, like Goblin Town Illuminati. We have fun. I really think that the I was talking to someone like Gray and I were talking to CyberCons, right? And they were this is like the original, and we're talking about how like the communities go through different flows of like, and he said like it takes about a year and a half to actually find the actual community that's really there. Because like you'll get the people that are like excited to make money, you'll get people whatever, and then eventually you just like settle on the community that's like they're there for either the right reasons or they're just happy to be there or they're just vibing, they're enjoying themselves. And I think we've started to find that with Illuminati. I think we're still like in a little bit of flux with Goblin Town, but I think like even just what's going on in Singapore and Bali in the past week, people just like enjoying being around each other. And so anyone in the mainland community, like it's a love to welcome any of you to Goblin Town. Everyone's got a little goblin in you. So yeah, I appreciate you having me on. This was fun.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Alex. We'll let you go now. It's great to have you. Very inspirational talk. I think we wanted to get your story out there to Asia to see, like, there's other things to do in the thing. And I love it. And obviously Ray loves it too. So thanks a lot for being here.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
See you in Bali again.
Yeah. We'll see you in Bali next time.
I didn't go. I want to go next time.
Yeah.
Next time.
All right. Great. It's I think one of the things, I don't know if you heard, Ray, but to me it was surprising. He's going for dinner now. It's like 10 o'clock in East Coast, and I thought that only Hong Kong was open and Japan maybe open so late, but it's good that he can
have a reservation at 10:45.
I know, right? That's crazy.
Yeah, maybe this is just a secret code. Yeah, for something different. I don't know.
Right, exactly.
Some people talk a lot about secret codes. I think I listened to the whole episode, right? I feel like I think a lot of NFT communities, right? They share a lot of similarities because at the end of the day, I think there are only a very small group of people buying all kinds of NFT. I think sometimes it's like the first time, but most of the time people own more than one NFT. So it's almost like you try to recycle the people, right, in different communities. On one hand, that's why a lot of them, they have a lot of PTSD, right? They also have the PvP mindset, like the player versus player mindset, because they feel like, okay, if I don't make money, right, if I don't exit in the right time, basically I'm fucked, right? I'm holding the bag, right? And I think all these kind of, I would say, this is not the anti-growth mindset. It's actually what makes people kind of like unhappy in this space, right? If we are happy, first of all, I think we should never overinvest, right? So honestly, I mean, I'm down really bad, right, on my own NFTs and stuff, but it doesn't affect my life, right? So I don't hate all the founders that I talk to, right? That's number one, right? Number two is if we really believe that we are building the community together, right? I think the job that we should do is actually not going to Discord and then complain, right? Or not complain, but share our thoughts, right? I think it helps, but I think it helps more by going to talk to people who are not in your community yet, right? And then tell them, hey, why this is fun, right? Why, you should buy it, right? When the price are kind of like dips a little bit, right? I'm not saying that, okay, this is like shielding the shit and then you make your friends become your exit liquidity, right? But it's almost like, it's a very simple math, right? When the only way to grow is actually to get more people to pay attention, right? And maybe a percentage of them will be converted, right? And that's how any product do the growth marketing and stuff like that. Right? I think right now, because of the sentiment, because of the market condition, right? I think the so-called the K factor is basically smaller than small. It's like smaller than one. Right. That's why it doesn't grow. Right? It's like a very simple model on that, right? And then in our case, in Mimland's case, not our case, right now it's GM show. In Mimland's case, we think about growing that so that with a fungible token, so that we can reach more people who are already in crypto or are already in Web3, and then they can be our community, right? Via a meme coin, right? Yeah. And in such case, maybe some of them, they believe in the bigger vision of Memeland, then they will be get into our NFT and stuff. But right now, I think a lot of people, they see, okay, launching a token is like the end game, and that's it. Right? It's almost like Alex mentioned, right? It's almost like they couldn't see the future just because they focus too much on the floor.
Yeah.
Just try to, when you walk, if you keep looking at the floor, you will
Yeah.
get tripped, right?
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
no way that you can run really, really fast, right? So I think if you know how to drive, if you know how to walk, you always know that you have to look at the future, look in front of you, instead of looking at your feet, right? Instead of looking at your wheel, right? So I think all these things seems very straightforward to me. I'm not sure because if I'm old or stuff, right? I'm definitely not a smart guy. I'm just
You're
think that
old.
yeah, I'm just thinking this is so obvious, right? I think when Alex mentioned, okay, it takes like 1.5 years, right, or to kind of like get the community settled down. I just feel when I look at the dates, we're almost there. Yeah. I mean, right now we have the luxury that okay, we every collection that we minted, right, was above the mean price and stuff like that, right? But I think what's more important is, I started to see, despite the bad market sentiment, right? I started to see more believers and holders. They actually will voice out, right? And they actually can know how to manage the sentiment, right? So I see quite a lot of meme holders, right? They say that, okay, I don't like the vibe in Discord, right? That's why I don't even go to Discord, right? And they hold comfortably, right? Because they believe in the social vision that we are building, right? I feel like when the time, when we kind of like extend the timeline, I think there will be more people like that, right? Because at the end of the day, the opportunities is so obvious. Yeah, it's just that the price fluctuates in the short term, right? And I think as a team, we have to be very mindful of that. But we should not just work for the floor price, right? Floor price is like a delayed factor. I think a lot of the times you launch something new, actually it causes the floor price to drop because it kind of like clears the speculation element a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And let's say in our case, right, we are launching a meme coin, right, very, very soon. Then basically, the floor price keep having sell pressure because people kind of have the PTSD and remember things wrongly. And then they feel like, okay, we should capture the gain right now. Yeah. I think all these things is very interesting to me as a builder. And sometimes when I go to Discord, right, and then I kind of like trolling and stuff like that, I just feel like people think that I'm angry when I try to respond to them. Like, for example, yesterday night, right, at Hong Kong time, there was a meme land holder. He keeps talking about how great D Gods is, why meme land sucks, right? Why Ray you sucks, right? Your team sucks and stuff like that. It's very, very funny, right? And then one of our MVP, and then he mentioned, hey, I look through that guy's Twitter. He was trashing Discord, right? Like in October last year, right? It's so funny. And then I quote that quote and talk to that holder. And then he said, hey, this is just a wrong take, right? And then you use the wrong take against me. But my whole intention was like, hey, the space moves very, very fast, right? As long as the team continues to build, we can actually turn the sentiment around in a very, very short time, right? I use his I would say his shit post about D-Gods to show that, hey, D-Gods exactly went through that experience so that the team right now is stronger, right? Because the community has seen that. That's why they don't feel like this is like the end of the world, right? And that's how you kind of like grow the community. It's like when we grow up, we continue to face more challenges, more setbacks, and then that's why we know that, okay, break up is not the end of the world, right? We know that okay, fail an exam is not the end of the world, right?
Yeah.
I think this is a process. I don't want to say trust the process and shit like that. I prefer to take the profit, right? But somehow, I just feel like patience is really needed, right? If we really want to do something great, right? I think I'm greedy, right? I'm long-term greedy, right? It's okay to be greedy, right? But you still have to give some time, right, for anything meaningful to build, right? If you just want to have some pump and dump, I think NFT is not the best place, right? Because NFT somehow you still have some pretty solid stuff, right? And maybe just buy shit coins, right? Because okay, it's almost like a casino in a way. Okay, so I just feel like sometimes there's like a mismatch expectation and reality, right? But at the same time, I'm really grateful to see that actually quite a lot of people understand the long-term vision, right? That's why I see some people like Pudgy Penguins, like D-Gods, like Yuga, right? I think some of the holders, they are just having fun regardless of the floor price, right? And I think, okay, that's something that maybe, I mean, it's, we always joke that, okay, the friends is what we make along the way, right? But maybe that's true, right? Because when we focus on that and not focusing on just the price, maybe that's the moment that the community can finally shine, and we can actually achieve that. Okay, we build with the community, right? And I just want to say one last thing, right, before we go, is every very, I would say, visible launch actually is almost like causing the price to dump, right? Because in this space, people love to sell the buy the rumors, sell the news, right?
Mm.
But when you kind of like look back like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then a month, right? Usually, when the launch started to get some outside of the Web3 momentum, right? Outside of the current NFT momentum, actually, it will kind of like have a good response. Yeah, and I think a lot of people feel like they can time the deep or time the pump really really well, but I just feel like history told us that it's actually quite hard, right? So I think this is just like, oh, and I when listen to what Alex talk, right? I'm not saying that, okay, as a holder, I'm very happy with the Goblin Town floor price and stuff like that. I'm just feel like, oh, I appreciate a lot of their creativity. Yeah, and I feel like, okay, this is actually what we pay for. Yeah, something like
Right.
that. Yeah, I'm just keep babbling and stuff, right? But
Yeah, no, but it makes
like,
sense. It makes sense from what he said. Yeah, I think that we should do a show where people talk about the the holders who don't care and see what they have to say, right?
Yeah.
Because they're not always in the Discord attacking the founders.
yeah,
They're more like long term holders and thinking about it. Because yeah, Goblin Town. I mean, just from the stuff they've shown so far, I would trust them a lot to see what they deliver, because they've delivered so much exciting stuff so far that I don't think that's something that you need. You know, you can push, right? You can't there. I just was listening to a podcast a day. It takes like 5 years to make a Pixar movie, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's like that's like 5 year or a AAA video game, right? It takes forever. But people are rushing today. It just seems crazy, right?
yeah, it's the same for GM show, right? I think some people mentioned that. Okay, Ray, look at how many. Hey, GM show sucks, right? How many holders actually? How many meme holders actually listen to GM show, right? I think the guy who said that actually totally misunderstand the purpose of GM show, right?
Right.
It's not for
Yeah.
just our NFT holders, right? It's to start something, right? To create a platform for builders, right? Who share their point of view. And honestly, does it matter whether we only have like 10 people, 20 people? No, right? Because this show, we basically, okay, I mean, we run it like for 2 weeks. No, not 2 weeks, like 2 months, a little bit over there, right? We already got a sponsor, right? Because we understand that it's not just, I mean, I come from NIGAT, right? I understand that big is not always better. Right? I mean, big number is not always better. I'm not talking about other stuff, right? Big is not always better. I mean, on the number, it's also about the quality of the
Yeah,
people,
exactly.
right? And the segment of the stuff that you're talking about, right? There are more way few people to buy air mats and other another luxurious good, right? But right now, every MH group is like the biggest conglomerate on earth, right? So I just feel like we don't know what we don't know, right? Of course,
Yeah.
I'm part of that, but somehow in this like GM show, right, I actually know what we are doing, right? And and it's very simple, right? People think that, okay, Gary V or any YouTuber or Mr. Beast, right? Oh, they have so many followers, they have so many subscribers, right? Oh, they're so great, right? But we are not looking at what they are right now. We are looking at what they were when they started.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's why it's almost like we always have to keep kind of like farming and working and doing stuff when people don't give a fuck about us, right? And that's how we can accumulate the true fans to grow the community, right? To do something more important, right? Because people always forgot how scrappy Google was and then Facebook, right? They only look at the fancy outcome,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But this is a time that we need to keep building, even though there's only like one listener, right? And I feel like we are so lucky that we have way more than one listener, right? And I see quite a lot of builders, they actually enjoy our space, our GM show. It's because they gain another perspective. It's almost like a pat on the back and some words of encouragement, right? Because right now they know that, okay, they are not alone, right?
Share the
And
same pain.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like a common pain. It's almost like, okay, after you grow up, you talk to your son, right? And then you tell them that it's okay to break up, right? It's kind of like that. Yeah. And I feel like this actually make me very bullish about what we are building, just because all those, I would say, more like short-term focus people, they think that we're doing user stuff, and that's why I'm very happy that we're doing this, right? Because that means that, okay, we are exactly doing the things and targeting the right audience for GM show. Yeah.
Great.
I just want to also just say that we see you, audience. We see you guys come in every week. We see you on YouTube, we see you on Twitter, and we really appreciate it. But we love that you're here, and we're hopefully you're getting something out of it, not just showing up to show up, but you're showing up because there's good content, and you also believe in what the Meme Land team is beating and what we're building here at GM Show. So excellent to see everybody here. Ray, thanks a lot for your insight. We'll see you again here next week.
Thanks, Ray.
All right, Karen, how do we end the show today?
So here's the alpha before we end today's show.
Hold on, we have an alpha video.
So we're talking about how our sponsor today is Hashkey. So there's going to be a Captain's Tray Pack collab with Hashkey Exchange late August. So stay tuned on our Twitter. And thank you, Hashkey Exchange, for being our first sponsor. That's great. Yeah, that's a great episode, hopefully.
Any idea what the traits might look like, or are we not going to talk about that?
We're not going to talk about
more. I always want more information. Yeah. Okay, but that's a big trait draw, alpha drop there. Thank you for sharing that with us.
So we are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on most podcast network you might listen to. So this show is live here on Twitter and YouTube and Twitch. But if you want to just like audio version, use your podcast app to download all these episodes. So give us a 5-star rating, as it will let more people know about the GM show. So thank you, Alex. Thank you, Casey. Thank you, Ray. And let's wrap up.
See you next week on the GM show. Thanks everyone for listening.